She's most easily described as a superstar, but there's a lot more to her than that convenient tag suggests. To quote the flyleaf of her autobiography, she's wandered through India, lived in Japan, and climbed into the Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan. She's taken an active part in politics and vigorously involved herself in the problems of race. David Niven said of her, she's about as naive and cookie as General Motors. Dean Martin remembers, she's got the best legs in Hollywood. They go all the way to her chin. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine, welcome. You heard that little bit at the beginning, did you, about the astronomical fees that you stars are charging in the film industry? Were you holding your nose in comment, or?
No, I was thinking about that birth control contraption. I was wondering what happens if the faucet leaks.
You're in trouble. It's a genuine story, actually. It's the
Better work genuinely, too.
Well, it's like the sort of vasectomy thing, except that, you know, you've got the alternative, you've got the option. It's not once and for all.
It's all in for one.
Would you rather talk about that than the astronomical fees?
Who was that film chief who said that?
It wasn't the film chief, it was the head of the British Film Finance Corporation.
Well, he would say that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, yeah. But you've been involved in that kind of row before, haven't you?
Yeah, I think he's got a point, but the thing is, if you rent an IBM machine for the day, at least there's some rent money on it, so I have a feeling that they'd like us to work for nothing and participate in large part after it is either a success or a failure. But then what happens if we've worked for nothing because it's a flop?
Yes.
Some pictures take 7-8 months to make, you know.
Yes.
And we are trained, and we are specialists in our field, et cetera, et cetera. So it would seem to me that how do they decide? Certainly we've gotten too much money in terms of probably what we do. But on the other hand, it seems to me that the people in audiences want to see people. And you can't just make stories, you have to make stories about people. And it was the magnetism of the people that made them stars. And so I don't think anymore that pictures that are bad, that have stars starring, necessarily make money simply because a star's in it. But I do think that stars in a good picture probably increase the gross tremendously, and so they should be paid going in for that kind of risk because it's lowered.
But if you, I mean, if you went into a picture and took a share of the takings rather than your fee, and say plowed your fee back into the making of the picture, wouldn't give you something which a lot of stars seem to want nowadays, which is more control over the kind of product that's finally made?
Sure, except I don't think control is commensurate with the amount of money you make. I don't think that's fair either. One of the distortions of this strange marriage between economics and art is that supposedly the more money you get paid, the better you are at your craft. And we all know that's not true, either about stars or about automobiles. I think that one of the things the new crack, the sort of demise of the motion picture business has taught us to pay more attention to is just that. What sort of pictures are we making? What do we mean when we say that communication by celluloid is important? You know, I mean, it's ridiculous that we've gone all these years making pictures for our turquoise swimming pools and stuff. So I don't mean to say that we should make pictures that always slam you over the head with a message or anything like that, but I think it's taught us to be more responsible about the effect that the visual media has on people.
But do you think that the people in Hollywood, the producer figures, are they, what you're saying, that they're out of touch with the needs of what people want?
Oh, they don't know.
Well, if they don't know, who does?
Nobody, obviously. That's why we've had it. The thing is that they don't get around very much. They really feel more safe to concentrate in their own comfortable environment. They tend to follow trends. The story about Easy Rider being the most expensive picture ever made in Hollywood is true, because Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper did take a chance, made something very unusual with a realistic kind of texture to it, did represent the tone of what the youth wanted to see at that moment, and then they went out and made 73 Easy Riders and lost their shirts. So it was a very expensive experiment in terms of Hollywood.
Yes.
You can't recreate the same thing again.
Yes, yes.
What's going to happen? I just don't know. I think I've always felt in the last 5 years that what happened to Hollywood was an early prelude to what was going to happen to the American economy anyway.
How do you mean?
Well, the sort of fickleness of the arbitrary shifts that are occurring in the American mind was showing up in their response to films. And I learned and sort of had a warning about the kind of trend America would take from Photoplay magazine and Screenland and some of those rather pastiche.
It's an odd place to get a preview of what's going to happen in America. I mean, how is that?
Because that's what the young people read, certain kinds of young people. And I think I would probably say the majority. Who knows now, let's say that the 5 million added vote under 21 means that they'll go for the kind of values of life that are contrary to Richard Nixon or that are more similar to Richard Nixon. I think that would be dangerous to project that because they're young, they're anti-establishment in their lifestyle. I don't think that's necessarily true. And some of the pictures that they were responding to indicated that. At the same time, you had this flux of Easy Riders, which sort of proved that there was great ambivalence in the nation's luxury habits, so to speak. And then certainly in the election with Humphrey and Nixon, one would be up a while, another would be down, another would be up. And I sort of hold the belief that if the election had been held 4 days later, maybe Humphrey would have lost by even more instead of the other way around, because America's very ambivalent right now.
But don't most kids generally, anyway, they take their lead in their political conviction in the main from their parents, don't they? Wouldn't you say that was... They were more of, I'm talking now about the mass. I mean, people say, and it's easy to say nowadays that kids are more radical than they were. I think there are more kids now who are more radical than there were before, but certainly not the great mass of them, right. Wouldn't you say that the majority took their lead from their parents?
Yes, that's what I mean. Even though the new vote seems to be registering 3-1 Democratic and probably a little bit higher, I don't know what that means, because I really don't know what Democrat and Republican means anymore. I think the thing that's more important and a deeper subject to try to analyze is what they mean by their lifestyle that they're insisting on. What do they mean about values, about how they feel about money, how they feel about families, how they feel about marriage, monogamy, sex altogether, things like the desire for this free lifestyle that would include things like marijuana and so forth, the defiance of authority. I really don't know that they have changed that much. I think what they're responding to is almost a faddish defiance of the authority, which all kids have always done.
Well, what kind of stand do you take in these areas? I mean, for instance, so take drugs, things like pot. I mean, have you smoked pot?
Oh, sure. 2 martinis will knock me flat. Pot, I just sort of sit around, you know. Imagine oh, it's a big subject. Of course, marijuana, in my opinion, should be legalized. First of all, you'd have wall-to-wall prisons if you really meant that everybody who smoked it had to go to jail. So, I mean, how can you possibly enforce the law, for God's sake?
Yeah.
You'd be trampling over bodies to get to the next cigarette. So that's sort of dumb. But I think the important thing is not whether pot should be legalized, but why they're smoking it. Why do they feel this necessity to zonk out so prevalently? Why is this checking out so en masse? Why do they feel so demoralized? That's the stuff I think we ought to be talking about, not in the arena of you did bad, you've got to pay for it. This is your rap. You've got 5 years, someone else has 20. All that's so inconsistent anyway that the young people look at the law and say it's so inconsistent, how can we have any respect for it? But that's on a surface level. What's interesting me is, let's just take the heroin addiction in Vietnam. If those guys didn't turn on like that, they'd very likely go insane fighting a war that they don't believe in. Killing anyway is not particularly pleasant profession, and certainly killing someone they don't know. In order to do it, they have to depersonalize the whole exercise, which is anti-humanism.
Can I throw a quote at you from your book, Shirley, which interested me? You've been an actress for some time now, and you said that in your book, the joy of being an actress is that you have the opportunity to explore so many facets of life. I think you can just give about 10 minutes demonstration of what you mean.
We should be quiet.
No. But did you, when you were in the early days when you were acting, I mean, did you take this to the conclusion of thoroughly researching certain things that you did? I mean, I'm thinking now, leading into the area of the Irma Deuce thing.
Yeah, you want to hear about the hookers.
I'd love to hear about that, yeah. Because you did, in fact, you went to live with them, didn't you?
Oh, yes.
Tell us.
Well, I didn't live with them, you know, because, I mean, their action's a little different from mine. I mean, they get paid for it, you know. It was interesting, that really was, because I got to know one of the girls very well, and she had been, you know what she was? She was she emptied bedpans in a hospital. What do you call that?
A nurse orderly, a ward orderly, something like that.
Someone once said a schmuck. Anyway, that was her job. And she was unhappy, you know. It's sort of depressing. And it would depend on whose. But she, Okay, so this lady was telling me that I asked her how she became a hooker. And I was interested in what was going on in her head about it. And she said, well, because I said, what do you think of your profession? She said, oh, she said, it's very easy because I'm not on my feet very much. In fact, she asked me to lend her some money till she could get back on her back. Oh, never mind.
No, you're doing well. Carry on. No.
Hang on. So she was saying that she had this one patient who took a shine to her, and they began to talk and get to know each other and this and that. And he, to make a long story short, hooked her emotionally, and he made her believe that he fell in love with her. And he was doing about a 2-month stint there for something, I don't know what. He was legitimately sick. And offered her a kind of new life when she left if she would come and live with him. He said, this must be depressing. You don't have any other skill. Perhaps I have some ideas. You could work your way up in life. So being of a 12-year-old IQ, she said, groovy, you know, went with him. And they moved in Les Halles, in Paris. And pretty soon, this rather elderly, beehive-haired, strawberry-faced madam walked in, and he introduced her, and she started coming around the apartment. They would eat together, and sort of, they began to be comfortable and tell each other very personal things. So the madam was assessing whether or not this girl was hooker material, because one of the things that's evidently required is a kind of ambivalence, a kind of apathy towards sex. You know, they're not, she didn't have many questions I asked her about it. She didn't, she really didn't even, she wasn't interested in the subject. It was amazing.
Yes,
that really
she had no
interested
views about it one way or the other.
Not just so she could do her work at a distance, but she really didn't, Anyway, in 2 years, she found herself the best hooker on the block, right? So that's when I got to know her. She thought I was there to beat her time, but I put on some glasses and a scarf. And then, after about 3 years with this mech, that's what they call him, he gave her room and board and a lot of fatherly affection and got her customers and fought with her for that 3 feet of pavement, which is really the high priority in their life, because if they don't have that pavement, if it's not carved out to be absolutely theirs, they haven't got a job. Evidently, prostitution is okay, but solicitation is what they get you for. Anyway, after about 3 years of this, disillusionment set in, and it happens with all the girls around about that time. And that's when he turned her on to heroin in order to make her her sensibilities bare this sort of life.
Mm.
She had a boy, little boy. She didn't know by whom. Very Catholic. It was really funny because they insisted if I was going to play the part well, I had to observe the action meticulously. You see? I mean, if you're going to do research, you're going to do research.
Right.
So they held me down for a minute or two, and then I decided I'd do it. Terrible,
That's
terrible.
a depressing experience, isn't it?
Oh, my God, I nearly gave up acting. Are you kidding?
For a better alternative.
What was the overriding thing was how proud she was of her profession.
Really?
Yeah, very. She really thought she was, she really thought also that she dealt with the dregs of humanity where other people wouldn't have anything to do with them, you know.
Yeah.
They're $2 hookers down there.
Yeah.
And she felt that she was providing a compassionate service. You know, a lot of her customers just came to talk. They didn't come to do anything else. It was quite sweet in some ways. She was very open and honest and made them feel important.
Yes. Shirley, what's I'd often wanted to ask a superstar this. We've not had many on our program.
Not to talk about hookers.
Not to talk about hookers, no. One or two of them might have used them, but I can talk about them. Did you...
I'd like to ask you a question.
Feel free. Feel free.
Have you ever interviewed anybody who clammed up?
No, not yet. There's always a first time, I suppose. What are the disadvantages, though, Shirley, do you think, of being an internationally famous star? Because you're the kind of person who runs away from it, aren't you?
From being a star?
Well, yes, from the acclaim.
Oh, no, I really don't mind that. I don't get a great large charge out of it either because I think the invasion of privacy is difficult to handle sometimes. I do love anonymity. I really do love to go to a market and melt into the shopping bags.
But is it possible?
Sure. Oh, listen, those stars who tell you that they go to buy a loaf of bread and they're surrounded by millions of zealots are the ones who've spent 3 hours putting on lashes and leopard underwear. Oh, God, they won't leave me alone. That's crap, you know. I did an experiment once with a man who was doing this cover story or something. He wanted to know that. And I said, let's try this. It was in New York, Fifth Avenue. And I had on a suit and just little heels like that. And my hair was like it used to be in that pixie style.
Oh, lovely.
I look like the road company Susan Hayward this way, don't you think? Anyway, we did this thing where I said, okay, for 10 blocks, I'm going to walk as though I'm a star. And everybody will notice me because I won't feel amalgamated with the shoppers and the day and the sort of buses and all that all people really actually naturally do when they walk. I am a star. Okay, so I walked that way for 10 blocks, and it was murder. I mean, the leopard underwear ladies were right.
Yeah.
Then, at something like 56th Street, I said, now, just watch the change in attitude, if I can swiftly make this transition in time. And I started becoming interested in the shoes and the windows and the sizes of the dresses and the color combinations and other people.
Yes.
Not one person noticed me.
That's fascinating. That's amazing.
It really does depend on these sort of personal vibrations you have about yourself.
Yes. Have you, on the other hand, though, have you ever been guilty of using the fact that you are an internationally known star to your advantage? Have you ever come...
Yes, I make your show better.
I'll ask you that question again.
Button your shirt up first. Well, let's see your tap. Let's see your tap, Michael.
For those of you who haven't got colour television, I'm bright pink now.
Real?
That's real. Cool.
Damn.
There you go. Ever see people who write in and say, is it a wig?
No, they'll say, we've always wondered, now we know.
If they're men, I always write back and say, you're allowed one free pull.
Oh, my God, on
And
what? You want to talk about birth control? control some more?
That story had a good punchline, but I'm not going to follow yours. That's for sure. What shall we talk about now, Shirley MacLaine?
About what job you're going to have tomorrow.
Yes. Well, the band think you're hilarious.
They've been hearing the same old stuff for so long. Well, we got another 5 minutes.
Is that all we've got? What shall we talk about on here, then? We talked about America. No, we haven't. I'll tell you what I'd like to ask you. You've been over here for some time now. What are your feelings about this country, about the mood of this country, and how does it differ from America, do you think? Because we always think we've got this special relationship with America, don't we? And I reckon that we are more foreign to the Americans than Zulus are.
Oh, boy, that's very true. I'm doing a series here for Sir Lou Grade. I'm interested in television now. I really think television is something else, you know.
Look,
maybe not after tonight, but, you know, up to now. and the thing that struck me in working with the British crews, I've made a lot of pictures here, but never for like 9 months and very intimately involved. And just because you speak the same language doesn't mean you have the same thoughts.
Yes.
Very, very profoundly, it hit me.
Yes.
Because the assistant director will come to me and he'll say, would you like a rehearsal? And I'll say, no, I'm all right. I know the lines, just to tell him to go ahead and call me when you're ready. He goes back down to the director and says, she won't come. I told her you're ready, she won't come. Comes back up to me, would you like rehearsal? I said, I told you, why are you coming and asking me again? Do you mean the director wants me there for a rehearsal? Ah, now I'll come. I get down and he says, where were you? That sort of thing is
Yeah. What are the things that you do dislike, though, that you've observed in this country?
Dislike? I don't think they should have put those Oz men in prison.
No, nor do I. He explained.
Demurely.
But anything else? No, what about you're very acutely aware of the political personalities in America. Have you bothered to take much time studying our lot?
You have very good yachtsmen here.
Very good. What about problem? This is probably an unfair question because you really haven't. I mean, it's a kind of if you're working over here as you are, I'm working all the time. It's a kind of phony area that you're in. You don't really get to know the problems of the people here. What about the colour problem here, for instance? I mean, has that occurred to you that we might have something like the American situation, or?
Well, I think you're not facing it, and that's why you can't compare the two. I was amazed that Enoch Powell was as popular as he seemed to be, that he actually was listened to. It's a big thing. The conflict of color in America is probably at the bottom of why we feel so unhappy about ourselves. I don't think you can stave off the problem for very much longer. You can't do it by immigration laws and so forth. I tell you one thing I'm very interested in reading in the papers. You will analyze Angela Davis's trial or George Jackson's slaughter in prison, and you will defend the right of those black revolutionaries in America against their white oppressors called the establishment, and yet you call the IRA terrorists. It's very inconsistent to me. You'll talk about our presence in Vietnam, America's presence in Vietnam. We didn't belong there, never have, and come to that conclusion, and now we're leaving. And yet I get a sense of embarrassment with the English people.
It's a special emotive issue, though, this, and this is probably the reason why emotive words are used about it, and it's far nearer to home than the colour problem is. I'm not saying it's different, I'm not saying it's worse or better. What I'm saying is that it has very special connotations.
Not really. The reason I coupled the two together is because you're talking about human freedom. It's the same sort of inconsistency that Peking committing in playing footsie with Yahya Khan in Pakistan instead of supporting Bangladesh. They're doing the same thing. I'm not just attacking a different, just you or just us, although I know it better. But I always get furious when people are pure in their criticism, and yet they're extremely inconsistent, because the bottom line of all of this is human freedom. That goes for law and order too. It also goes for things like marijuana. It also goes for sex. You know, you can't be a little bit free. You have to either be free or not. And then, of course, you get to the nitty-gritty question: can the human being tolerate freedom with the commensurate amount of responsibility? But that's what we should be talking about, instead of what sort of laws do we adjust for the crimes committed, when the crimes are becoming more and more horrendous because there's more and more people being more and more demoralized.
Can I finish? We've sadly run out of time. Can I finish by asking a question that I've always wanted to ask a woman as beautiful as you? You're always, people write about you as being a sort of sexy and attractive woman. Who do you think's the sexiest man in the world?
You.
Next to me.
I'm next to you.
No, apart from me.
You're making a joke out of something I said offhandedly last week. I told him I thought Show and Lie was the sexiest man.
Show and Lie.
How do you like that? A 73-year-old communist he's worried about.